Last week, the world witnessed a high-profile clash between two of the most influential figures of present times, US President Donald Trump and tech titan Elon Musk. Once considered allies, the relationship has taken a dramatic turn, erupting into a public war of words. From social media jabs to bold public statements, the feud has captured global attention. So what caused this sudden fallout, and what does it mean for the future of politics, tech and influence in America? Hello and welcome, I'm Manman Bhattacharya. Let's connect the dots. Both Trump and Musk endorsed each other publicly. They promised to make America great again. They were inseparable at the White House, but it lasted barely a few months. The Donald Trump-Elon Musk bromance is now over. In a war of words that has escalated, both men took to their own social media platform to attack the other. Let's understand how it all started. The fight was sparked by Musk's sharp criticism of Trump's key domestic policy, the One Big Beautiful Bill, a tax and spending proposal currently awaiting Senate approval. Musk labeled the bill a massive, outrageous, pork-filled, disgusting abomination. On platform X, President Donald Trump said he was very disappointed.
But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair.
Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, or OBBB, proposes extensive tax cuts which could add roughly $3 trillion to the US national debt. White House says Musk's criticism does not change Trump's support for the mega bill.
Look, the president already knows where Elon Musk stood on this bill. It doesn't change the president's opinion. This is one big, beautiful bill, and he's sticking to it.
The dispute became more personal when Musk claimed that President Trump would have lost the 2024 election without me. According to a campaign finance tracking site, Open Secret, Musk's donations to Trump and other Republicans have been enormous, spending nearly $290 million in last year's election. But the drama did not end here. Things escalated further when Musk accused Trump of being mentioned in unreleased documents related to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Later, Musk deleted the explosive post. Musk alleged that the Republican leader is featured in secret government files on former associates of Epstein who died by suicide in 2019 while he faced sex trafficking charges. In a post, Musk said, "Time to drop the really big bomb. Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public." But what are the Epstein files? The Epstein files are a collection of documents, pieces of evidence, and court records related to Jeffrey Epstein, a financier and a sex offender. These files have been a subject of interest for the public as they include the names of high-profile people and how they were related to Epstein's crimes in one way or another. The White House called the claim an unfortunate episode. This public spat has also drawn attention from political figures, with some Democrats demanding the release of the full Epstein files and questioning whether they are being withheld due to potential implications for Donald Trump. Trump called Musk crazy and threatened to cut off government contracts with the mega billionaires' companies, which in addition to Tesla include the space exploration company SpaceX and the artificial intelligence company XAI. Musk's companies are deeply embedded in several key government initiatives, ranging from NASA missions and defense projects to infrastructure and electric vehicle incentives. When Trump was asked whether he would consider cutting government contracts held by Elon Musk, he said that he would look at everything.
You posted yesterday that a good way to save money would be to cancel some of Musk's contracts. How seriously are you considering that?
Well, we'll take a look at everything. I'll look at everything. He's got a lot of money. He gets a lot of subsidy. So we'll take a look at that. Only if it's fair. Only if it's fair for him and for the country. I would certainly think about a deal, but it has to be fair.
Elon Musk's father also broke his silence on his son and Trump's feud. He said that Elon is standing on principles.
Well, Elon is standing on principles. He wants to cut the budget into a situation that they save money instead of waste or spend more money than they have. And he was told that his role would be just that. But when he was presented with a budget that in no way represented savings, he stood by his principles and said, I'm not prepared to support this. This is wrong. And so therefore I stand by my son.
On the other hand, NASA found itself at a critical juncture following the escalating feud between Trump and Musk. The dispute threatens to disrupt key space missions and reshape America's role in space exploration. In the last few years, US space agency NASA has created a big dependency on Musk's SpaceX that a decoupling would inevitably turn the clock back on NASA's plans by several years. President Trump has threatened to pull federal contracts from SpaceX, putting America's space program at greater risk. In a post on Truth Social, the US president said, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. In response, Elon Musk made it clear that SpaceX will immediately begin the process of decommissioning the Dragon spacecraft. NASA relies on the firm's Falcon 9 rocket fleet to resupply the International Space Station with crew and supplies. The space agency also expects to use its Starship rocket to send astronauts to the moon and eventually to Mars once it has been developed. The ongoing tensions between Trump and Musk have placed NASA in a precarious position. With SpaceX's involvement in numerous missions, including lunar and Mars exploration, the agency's future endeavors may be significantly impacted. The situation underscores the challenges of relying heavily on private contractors for critical national projects. So what began as a strategic alliance between two of the most influential figures in America, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, has now unraveled into a highly bitter and public feud. The social media feud has further given ammunition to the Democratic Party to target Donald Trump. Republicans who have supported Elon Musk and Donald Trump throughout the entirety of the campaign are left hanging in the balance and forced to pick one side.
আমি আজ দেশবাসীর কাছে ঘোষণা করছি যে
I am announcing to the people of the country today that the next national election will be held sometime in the first half of April 2026. The Election Commission will provide you with a detailed roadmap for the elections in due course based on this announcement.
You heard the unelected leader of Bangladesh. His unelected government completes 10 months in power. But Mohammad Yunus wants another 10 months to hold elections in his country. So that makes it a total of 20 months if he keeps his word. Is a 20-month delay in electing a government justified? And the biggest question of all, is democracy on its deathbed in Bangladesh? Let's connect the dots. Fact is that barring the Yunus government and some student and radical Islamist groups it allegedly favors, prominent opposition parties do not want to wait till April 2026 for elections. They want early elections. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party or BNP, led by former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, calls the delay unwarranted. It says people are disappointed by the delay and elections should be held no later than December this year. It says holding elections during Ramadan, peak summer and school examinations in April could create logistical and political complications, and these complications may then become a fresh excuse for further delaying the election. The truth is that there is no level playing field in Bangladesh politics. The Yunus government is far from neutral. It is influenced by certain political forces, particularly the student-led National Citizen Party or NCP. Remember, the NCP was formed as recently as February this year, and it is led by students who protested against Sheikh Hasina's regime last year. It is widely believed that Yunus is giving NCP time to organize itself before it faces voters. Hence, he is delaying the election. Though for the record, Yunus and his advisors argue that institutional and electoral reforms are necessary to ensure free and fair elections, and the NCP also sings the same tune of reforms first and elections later. We must note here that to date, little progress has been made on building consensus among all stakeholders and providing a roadmap for reforms and future democratic transition. The lack of neutrality of the Yunus government was exposed when the reform commissions were constituted. Many members of the student-led NCP joined the key reform commissions as student representatives. They had a direct say in drafting the reform proposals. In contrast, other major parties only had the opportunity to submit their ideas, which were largely ignored. So the so-called reform process has been compromised from the word go. This leads us to ask, does a government that lacks the direct mandate of the people and is demonstrably biased have the legitimacy to carry out reforms? Two things must be noted here. In 2011, the Bangladesh Supreme Court invalidated the caretaker government system. Subsequent amendments have not reinstated that system. So the Yunus government cannot be considered to be fully constitutionally legitimate. What I'm going to tell now is the international practice in such situations. Unelected governments formed during transitions are often accepted as legitimate if they act neutrally, minimize partisan influence, and are committed to holding elections as soon as possible. The Yunus government fails on each of those parameters. Here's how. It has banned Awami League of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The Election Commission revoked the party's registration. So Awami League now cannot participate in the upcoming national elections. This means that the party that is central to the nation's history has been removed from the poll process. Listen to the disdain among Awami League leaders.
Those who are not wealthy, those who support Awami League from their heart, from a belief, who consider Bangabandhu the father of the state, they are still here.
Awami League is more than just a political party. It is a symbol of Bengali nationalism. It is the vanguard of the 1971 liberation war against West Pakistan, the war that led to the creation of Bangladesh, which was earlier East Pakistan. That's not all. Bangladeshi prosecutors have officially charged Sheikh Hasina with crimes against humanity. And if you think all this does not qualify for political persecution, see this. A New Delhi-based rights group, Rights and Risks Analysis Group or RRAG, is making some explosive allegations. It accuses the Yunus regime of overseeing the targeted murder of at least 123 members of the Awami League and its affiliate organizations. Among them, 41 Awami League members were hacked to death, sometimes by slitting their throats in Taliban-style attacks, and 21 others were killed in the custody of the interim government. The rights group's director, Sohas Chakma, says these murders are just the tip of the iceberg, as not all the murders of the Awami League members were reported in local media. But he is clear that even children, women, the mentally unstable, and the maimed were not spared. The rights body says it will move the International Criminal Court against the targeted murders under the Yunus government. Doesn't all this show how quote-unquote neutral the Yunus government is? But that's not all. There are more disturbing signs of democracy being on the deathbed in Bangladesh and of radical Islamist elements gaining a bigger foothold there. The Bangladesh Supreme Court has overturned the cancellation of Jamaat-e-Islami's registration by the High Court in 2013. This allows the Jamaat to be formally listed as a political party with the Election Commission. This means that the decks are now clear for the Jamaat to contest the upcoming elections. Even Jamaat-e-Islami leader ATM Azharul Islam is now a free man after the Apex Court overturned his conviction. Islam was sentenced to death in 2014 for rape, murder and genocide during Bangladesh's 1971 War of Independence from Pakistan. These developments are worrying because the Jamaat-e-Islami has a particularly dark history. During the 1971 war, Jamaat and its allied militias, most notoriously the Razakars, Al-Badr and Al-Shams had collaborated with the Pakistani army in committing widespread atrocities. Those atrocities included targeted killings of intellectuals, mass rapes, and the massacre of Hindu minorities. Intelligence reports show that the Jamaat was one of the many invisible hands guiding the anti-Hasina mass movement led by a platform called Students Against Discrimination. Naturally enough, the transitional government led by Yunus dismissed the executive ban on Jamaat-e-Islami after coming to power, paving the way for the re-entry of this proven radical political entity. As far as India is concerned, the re-emergence of the Jamaat is an ominous development, especially for the Northeast, which in the past was Jamaat's favorite fishing ground for subversive activities. So India cannot drop its guard. Coming back to the elections in Bangladesh and the divide within the country, even Bangladesh Army Chief General Waqar-uz-Zaman has called for early elections. This is what he told an internal army meeting in Dhaka cantonment. Bangladesh needs political stability. This is only possible through an elected government, not by unelected decision makers. He even took on the Yunus government for supporting the controversial Rakhine Corridor proposal to build a humanitarian corridor between Bangladesh and Myanmar's Rakhine state. He rejected the proposal with contempt. He used the words bloody corridor to describe it. He said Bangladesh's sovereignty is not negotiable, and such risky and sensitive matters cannot be decided by an unelected government while keeping the armed forces in the dark. One must note here that there is growing concern in Bangladesh that the corridor can compromise its national sovereignty. It is believed that the corridor is being pushed by the United States for its geostrategic gains in the region. Yunus is believed to have agreed to the proposal in the hope of getting US support in return for clinging on to power. But the Bangladesh Army Chief's warning has now made Mohammad Yunus go back on the Rakhine corridor. So this shows that not only the major political parties but also the Bangladesh military has stark differences with the Yunus government. Mohammad Yunus was meant to clean up after Sheikh Hasina. But 10 months in, streets are still on fire. Minorities, particularly Hindus, continue to be persecuted. At the most basic level, the Yunus-led interim administration has been unable to restore law and order in the country. Things there are getting from bad to worse. Bangladesh's economy is in bad shape because the Yunus government is doing irreparable damage to it. Its textile industry is paying the price for the country's trade war with India. People are losing their jobs, and radical and fundamentalist Islamist elements are on the rise. Experts point to overt and covert interference of external forces in Bangladesh. They say that apart from the strong presence and regular interference of the Pakistan ISI in dictating Bangladesh's foreign and internal policy decisions, the role of China cannot be ruled out. They say that China would not want to deal with a new Bangladeshi Prime Minister since Yunus has been working in their interest. So the question we need to ask is, can the interim government that has failed in all respects be trusted with the reform process? The Yunus government is projecting reforms as some sort of article of faith that needs to precede elections. But in reality, it is using the so-called reform process to make the electoral process one-sided. It is doing exactly what it accuses the former government of Sheikh Hasina of having done. Bangladesh is backsliding. Will it explode as a tinder box in the foreseeable future? Hope is fast dying out. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmin Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.